When this man planned his trip to the woods, he had no idea it would turn into a nightmare. He wanted to go there for peace and quiet, but instead, his camera caught something that scared him. Shortly after he took the picture, he had to run for his life. The day when everything went wrong started off normally. Avon planned to spend the day walking lightly in the forest. He loved doing this, especially when he could take pictures of nature. But that relaxing feeling changed when he saw something out of the corner of his eye. The peace in the forest was broken when Evan noticed a strange shimmer about 30 feet away. It could have been an animal, a person, or even Bigfoot. Evan couldn't tell. One thing was clear, it was fast, and he decided to follow it. Evan watched the thick bushes move and heard leaves rustling on the ground. He used these sounds to track whatever was making them. Soon, he got scratched by sharp bushes and the thick plants confused him. Then he saw something dart between two trees. Quickly, Avon raised his camera and took a picture, hoping to capture whatever was running away. Unfortunately, the camera only showed a blurry shimmer. However, it did give him a hint. The thing was about 3 feet tall. What could it be? Sadly, that picture was all he had for now because the forest became quiet again. It must have gotten away, Evan said, feeling defeated. He decided to zoom in with his camera one more time to look around, but he would soon regret that choice. What the camera found next would change his life forever. Evan pointed the device south, and after a few minutes of looking, he spotted the moving bushes again. "It's the shimmer," he said enthusiastically. The mysterious thing moved quickly through the undergrowth and ran to a man-made structure in the distance. "That's a cabin," Evan thought. He lowered his camera and stared at the wooden woodland house in awe. He had never noticed it before. It was as if it had appeared out of nowhere. The curious photographer, Evan, approached the overgrown, ancient-looking cabin cautiously. It seemed more like a mossy grotto than a place someone could live. He was certain whatever he had been following had gone inside, though it was hard to believe anyone could live there. Reaching the hut, Evan crouched beneath the window and saw light burning inside. He lifted himself to peek through the window, and that's when things went wrong. A massive man, at least 2 meters tall, stood with his back to the window. The size of the man alone sent a chill through Evan. The cabin's hidden location and dim lighting made it clear that onlookers weren't welcome. Despite the unsettling scene, Evan continued watching. Then he noticed something horrifying. The man's entire back was covered in blood, and he stood in front of a wooden table, blocking whatever lay on it. However, the action that followed was something Evan could see very clearly. The man lifted a large butcher's cleaver into the sky, and with a loud and powerful smack, he rammed the cleaver into the table in front of him. It was a creepy scene to witness, especially because Evan couldn't see what the mysterious man was hitting. But the moment the cleaver hit the table, a terrifying sound reached Evan's ears. It was a scream so high and loud that it gave the curious photographer the jitters. This wasn't just a curious investigation anymore. Something was terribly wrong inside that cabin. Evan heard a woman's voice, but the moment the butcher raised his cleaver, everything went silent. Crouching beneath the window, Evan tried to process what he had just witnessed. Was it a murder? The scream had sounded like a young girl's, and the fear in Evan's mind quickly escalated. Realizing he needed to escape, Evan pushed off the wall and started to run, but disaster struck. His foot caught in a metal bucket, sending him crashing to the ground. As he scrambled to get up, his eyes fell on a pile of ash, still smoldering, with large bones scattered inside. Human bones? Evan's fear spiked. What if he was next? Just then, the cabin door creaked open. Heart racing, Evan pulled his foot free and hid in a nearby bush, just in time to see the man emerge. Covered in blood, the butcher scanned the area with a cleaver raised high. Evan held his breath, hoping to stay hidden, but the man was patient, his eyes sweeping every inch of the surroundings. Finally, the butcher's gaze locked onto the bushes where Evan was hiding. They made eye contact. Busted. Evan knew he had no choice now but to run. Without hesitation, Evan turned around and started running for his life. Panic shot through the frightened man's body. Evan ran as fast as he could in this foreign place he was unfamiliar with. He knew his car was in the northern part of the forest. While navigating the dense undergrowth, Evan mustered all of his strength to run and get away, afraid to look back. But the man followed him closely. Evan knew this because he constantly heard footsteps behind him. After a 15-minute chase, Evan finally reached an open part of the forest. The footsteps behind him had gone quiet, and he figured he'd lost the man. Catching his breath, he prepared for the final stretch to his car, which wasn't far. What he didn't know was that his ordeal was far from over. With his mind racing about what he'd just witnessed, possibly a murderous hideout, even spotted his car in the distance just 300 feet away. Almost there, he thought, quickening his pace. But just as he fumbled for his keys, the enormous man appeared again, having circled around to block his path. Exhausted and trapped, Evan tried one last desperate run, but a voice suddenly stopped him. Stop! It wasn't the man. A young girl emerged from behind the giant's legs, pleading, "Please don't run." Confused and scared, Evan demanded answers, threatening to call the police. The girl's reply shocked him. "Leave the police out of this. We come in peace and just want to explain. Will you let us?" The man, now with a kind face, nodded. "Your father?" Evan asked, his mind racing with questions. "What is this place? Who are you?" The man reassured him once more, no harm would come to him. Evan listened to those words but still needed answers to some burning questions before ever considering trusting them. What about all the blood on your shirt or the piles of ashes with human bones in them? And what about the female scream I heard? To me, it looks like a murder took place. The man said that even though it was real blood, it definitely wasn't human. I shot a deer to feed my daughter and me this winter. I was butchering it, so that's where the blood came from. The bones belonged to that same deer. I burned the scraps to keep predatory animals away. Evan nodded, indicating that he understood. He then asked about the scream that could not have been a deer. It was human. The girl stepped forward, showing her hand. I tried to help my father but cut myself. That scream was me. She removed some bandages to reveal a fresh cut. While their explanation eased Evan's nerves, he still had one pressing question. Why are you living alone in the forest in such a worn-down cabin? Sensing a sad story coming, Evan sat with them as they began to explain. The man introduced himself as Todd, and his daughter was Kelly. Todd shared that they had been living there for about a year, not by choice. After losing his wife to illness, Todd fell into depression, lost his job, and eventually their home. With nowhere else to go, they moved to the old cabin left to Todd by his father, hoping to heal and rebuild their lives. It wasn't perfect, Todd said, but it was home, and we made it work. There was only one problem. Even though the father-daughter do love living in the forest and learn to survive there quickly, one part of forest life wasn't nice. Millie adored her dad, but forest life could get lonely sometimes, especially for an 8-year-old girl. She had said goodbye to all her friends, but had none here. Kevin listened to Todd's story intently and had tears in his eyes when he finished. He understood now and felt for their hardship. He wanted to help and even came up with a solution. I will come back and bring her, Kevin said enthusiastically as he got in his car. Looking back at the tall man as he drove away, Kevin saw him and his daughter in a new light and was eager to help. The next day, Kevin returned to the cabin and noticed it looked different. It was still old, wooden, and overgrown, but not as scary anymore. His mind had played tricks on him the day before. When Kevin and his daughter entered the cabin, it felt warm and homely. The two daughters played together immediately, so they agreed to have weekly playdates. The fathers also became close friends. Kevin learned a valuable lesson. Never judge a book by its cover and be open-minded.